Hi friends, it's Em and welcome back to another video. Today I am going to be going through my favorite reads of January and putting in some reviews in my review journal. This is my first time using this journal, so there's going to be a little bit of a learning curve, but I hope that you enjoy. We're going to be stamping, we're going to be writing, we're going to be sticking in little sticky paper covers of the books. It's a complete vibe. I love it. Now, let's talk about the books though, because I've got 24 uninterrupted minutes to tell you all of my thoughts about the books that I read and loved in January. Now, I definitely think that I could have done some things better in this setup, mostly because for whatever reason, the books are not in chronological order anymore. They're not in the order that I read them in the month. But I think that's fine. I think it's totally fine. So the first book that I read and absolutely loved, to no one's surprise, and definitely not my surprise, was Get Over It, April Evans by Ashley Herring Blake. It's so soft and summery. It's coming out in February. No, not February, early January, which does not feel like summer, but it is so cute. It's very steamy, definitely very steamy. I listened to it on audio and I just loved it. I love her books. They're sapphic, I think, across the board. And it's just so good. You should read Dream on Ramona Riley first, but I really enjoyed this one. Another book that I read and loved, also a romance, is Just What I Needed by Lauren Morrill. So this is the third book in the Cardinal Springs series. And oh my gosh. If you didn't have to wait a year after reading Caught Up in You to read this one, you were lucky, because that book ended on a cliffhanger, and thank God we got some resolution to that. But we've got this bad boy ex-investment banker and a kindergarten teacher who's sort of trying to step out of her shell a little bit with roller derby. I'm a sucker for roller derby, so I loved it, hands down, 100%. A bit of a departure this month from like my usual. I feel like usually I'm reading romance, fantasy, or thriller. I was reading The Three Lives of Kate Kay, which the premise of this book is baffling, bananas, other B words, bewildering. So the premise is that there is this best-selling author whose name is a pseudonym, and she is writing a memoir. And what actually happens in the memoir is she actually has some other people write chapters about like what happened for them and their interactions and things like that. But you find out that this woman who has her pseudonym, well, she's also living under a fake name. And so there's like 3 layers of it. And you start to figure out why this occurred, and you get interstitial chapters about like the book that she wrote that was so good, and like chapters from like journalists and her partners. I haven't read anything like it. It's not quite epistolary because they're not like writing letters to each other or anything like that, but it has that sort of similar vibe. Also, you can see here on screen that my stamps, I don't know what happened. It just like decided that on this page it didn't want to work. So I come back and I fix that later, but this is part of why stamps and I are hit or miss. Lessons in Power by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This is the sequel to The Ruling Class, and I really loved The Ruling Class, and I really loved this book, although not as much as the first, and it absolutely was meant to have a third book and be at least a trilogy, and you can tell by the ending, and I'm If this does not get a third book, I will be so pissed. Partially because people have been waiting for this for 5-10 years or something. This is just like a re-release cover, so there's a chance that there will be another one. But the premise, it's like, think Veronica Mars meets Scandal, but YA private high school in DC. And so, like, there's all sorts of completely batty things that are happening, like assassinations and, like, well, mostly that. And there's just, like, this daughter of a fixer trying to fix things. It was really well written in the sense that, like, I couldn't put it down, but it did not, like, this second book, I could not. It was unbelievable. I could not. I don't know. It's on the lower end of my favorites. Let's just put it that way. I also read the 5th Finley Donovan book. And if you love this series, you're going to love this book. If you don't love this series, then don't read the book, I guess. But we're back. We're finally figuring out Vero's bullshit. Like, trying to solve that mystery. And that's been sitting here for the last 4 books. So it was so nice to get that closure. And we got a nice little setup for book 6. If you haven't read any of the Finley Donovan books, they are just so funny. They do not take themselves seriously at all. And they're thrilling. Like, whether it's, them trying to hide a body in their car or, like, accidentally roofing a guy, it's awesome. They're so funny. I did this one on audio and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really great. A sort of departure from the previous books that I had read, Heartless Hunter by Kristen, Ciccarelli? I don't know. Kristen, if you're listening, tell me how to say your last name. But I thought it was going to be overhyped. I really did. I thought that it was just going to be like, oh yeah, they everyone said they liked it, but I would read it and I wouldn't like it. Obsessed. Like, utterly obsessed. I think I can't decide if it's YA or if it's adult, but it's written in good prose, but it has the pace of a YA novel. So it's really go, go, go. And I loved that. Because sometimes with fantasy books, I get bored. And if I'm bored, then I'm like, oh, what am I doing? But the magic was intuitive. It feels very much like Salem witch hunt sort of stuff. But also mixed with, like, kind of fairy fae vibes. I can't really put a finger on it, but it's definitely more like witch and magic going on. An arc that I read recently that's coming out at some point, I don't remember when, it's called Steam. It's a graphic novel about the cutest little freaking coffee shop, and it's just all about, like, finding your purpose in life and helping people, but also not losing yourself in the process. And it's like this little genius lab experiment escaped and went to go work at a coffee shop. It's so cute, and it's a little bit sapphic, and I love it. I also read Startup Hell by Caitlin Rozakis. She wrote Dreadful, so her vibe is definitely kind of satirical plays on, so the last one was like the traditional villain. This one's a satire sort of startup culture. And it was just hilarious. Like, can you imagine just walking into your boss's office to find out that he was trying to summon a demon and died? Like, it's so funny. And I really enjoyed it. It also kind of fit because, like, startup culture is kind of a literal hellscape, honestly. One of the books that I read for my 12 Friends, 12 Wrecks was the one and only Vivian Stone. So the thing about this book is that it feels like everyone and their mom nowadays is like, oh, this is like the Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. Or this is like Daisy Jones and the Six. Because they're like, okay, these Taylor Jenkins Reid books, they really sell. So if we comp them to them, then we'll sell more books. Half the time it is not like that at all, right? And you're like, okay, well, thanks a lot. This book gave me the Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo feels. And I was like, great, you delivered on your promises. But it did not feel like a plagiarism or anything like that. It was still uniquely its own book. It just gave those vibes. So this story, I'm still thinking about it, like, which is just bananas for me because it's a historical fiction, which is not my thing. So this story is told from 2 points of view. There's Margot, who finds these tapes in her grandmother's attic after her grandmother died, that are addressed to her grandmother. And she starts to listen, and the voice who's telling the story is Vivian Stone. And so there's sort of like a hunt to figure out who Vivian is, but you also get to hear her story as she is trying and struggling to become an actress in Hollywood, as well as later a writer. And I could not put it down. It was just so immersive. And I loved that, it would switch between the point of views because, when the tape would end or if they'd have to pause the tape. I think just the writing was good, but I also enjoyed the structure of the book. And I think that really made it a unique experience for me. I also read Happy Ending by Chloe Lisa. This is coming out in April, I believe. And it's a Chloe Lisa book, right? So it's going to be cozy. It's going to be warm. It's going to feel like a hug. That's the vibe here. Now, that being said, there are some moments that don't feel like a hug. But I promise it still ends very huggable. It's a dual timeline story between the present, where Alex and Thea are going on a sort of blended family vacation with their respective ex-husband and wife, who are now dating each other. Yeah, unpack that. It's a lot. And then the sort of flashback timeline of them becoming friends and eventually more than friends. And when I say eventually, I mean it is a slow burn. It is slow. Very, very slow. Friends to lovers. But the dual timeline element really made it work for me because sometimes they're like, yeah, you've been friends forever, and then the all of a sudden they're making out. And here you really got the yearning. You got the, oh, I don't want to ruin the friendship. It was less of like a, oh, he could never like me vibes, and more of a like, well, we kind of like cuddled and kissed once when we were drunk, but like that couldn't mean anything. And I enjoyed it. I did. I honestly hope that we get a spin-off for Lauren's story, who's a character in the book, because I think that she was a boss bitch, and I want to see, I would love to see Chloe write a, like, sapphic romance, maybe. I don't know. I'm just saying. I also read Amari and the Metalwork Menace. This is the fourth. I think it's the fourth. It could be the fifth book in the Supernatural Investigations series. And it is a middle grade book, and I need to remember that because sometimes I'm reading these and I'm like, why are you doing that? Well, it's because they're going through puberty and they're full of hormones and they don't understand how to communicate. They're babies, you know? So things happened in the last book, and I very much enjoyed that we did not skip over that or diminish it. There is a lot of like grief and processing that happens, some like PTSD style flashbacks or moments. But we also do, get to see her trying to live her life after loss. And I thought the concept of the metalwork menace, which is like this sort of hex or curse that's turning people's like body parts to metal and it can spread. I thought that was fun. And there's a lot of things that I can't say because they are absolutely spoilers, but it was a vibe. It was definitely a vibe. And I think it's good for middle grade. I do want some of the writing styles to kind of grow up a little bit, just because I feel like we should be closer to the YA side rather than the middle grade side. But again, I am not the target audience, so it doesn't really matter what I think. Where I am the target audience is the redo list, because oh my God, Denise Williams. I love her books so much. I listen to them almost exclusively, I think, because she had January Lavoie narrate it for Willow, and I love her. I love the way her voice sounds. I love how she portrays the characters. She is an actress, baby. And this one is all about, you break up with someone who you thought was the love of your life, and it turns out that they were kind of a shitbag, and you are trying to find yourself again, right? And, the parts of you that maybe you let go or tried to conceal, you get to reclaim those for yourself, and I loved that. I also really enjoyed the to-do list element of it. It's like a bucket list, but I looked in the text after and they had like all the little check boxes. I love a checkbox. And then Deacon is kind of smoking, but they offset each other really nicely. And I so badly want a third book in this universe, because her brother, Cruz, I think he needs a book. I'm just saying. I don't think, this is not my favorite Denise Williams. My favorite would be The Fastest Way to Fall, because I just love that book so much. But it's really, really good. If you need a brand new romance, like, for sure. Now, also, in anticipation of the Netflix series coming out, I picked up His and Hers by Alice Feeney. And so I will say, so I'm like halfway through the Netflix series right now, and I'm very glad that I read the book, because I think that some of the changes that have happened in the show don't actually make any sense, unlike the book. Now, what is this about? It is about an former couple, Jack and Anna, I think their names are, where the man is a cop and she is a journalist, and someone that they both know dies in this like small sleepy town, and they're trying to sort of uncover who her murderer is. Now, things become a little more entangled, right, when it's revealed that he was sleeping with her, and she has a past with the murdered victim. So the whole time you're listening to this and you're like, oh my God, who did it, right? Can I trust these people? that I'm listening to their perspectives. I could not put this book down, let me tell you. And there were moments where I wish I could put it down. It is so gross sometimes. There are elements in here that absolutely require trigger warnings for animal cruelty, death of a child. Like, it's a lot. And if you don't like trigger warnings, then because you view them as spoilers, okay, sure, whatever. But I was triggered so when it came to the animal cruelty elements of this book. But my God, it just like is so good. It's the tension that she builds is immaculate. I was shocked by the ending. I had to like pause the audio and go back to sort of like really make sure that I heard everything right. On audio, they also use this sort of voice changer effect because you get these chapters from the killer's point of view being like, this is why I did this and this is how I did this. Very much like a sort of braggy kind of way. But they do that so that you can't, as the reader, know who actually did the crime, right? So I thought that that was super clever. I don't know how it would look in the actual text itself, but I am very excited. I don't know, excited's not the right word. I want to see how the Netflix series finishes, right? I want to see if they keep the same ending, if they keep certain plot points the same. But the book is always better. That's just the rule. And the last book that I have on my favorites is Make Time by Jake Knapp and John Zaratsky. And these are two guys who worked in the tech sphere. So one of them worked at YouTube, the other worked at Google, and I think they overlapped at one of those companies at some point in time. But their point is that if you don't make time for the things that matter, you're never going to do them. And scheduling the time for those things can really help with that. And so they offer like a ton of different strategies for how to make time and how to reduce distractions. They take it sort of from a lens of, you know, in tech and like in these very hyper productive sort of business cultures. You know, it's often expected that you're always going to be available. Often, you know, my phone or my email, these are things that I feel like I'm being productive, right? If I hit inbox 0, or if my inbox is always at 0 and I respond to an email within 15 minutes, but it doesn't actually make me more productive. It just makes me faster at responding to emails. And so I really liked that they offer strategies for work or for health and, you know, just potential little tweaks that you can make to your life in order to get that feeling of making time. And I enjoyed it. I think that it's a very short book, very actionable. I read the ebook version. I don't think I would recommend the audio version, if only because there's these fun little doodles that they put in the book that I really enjoyed. But that is about it, really. I had, 14? 14 favorites for the month of January. And let me know what you think of sort of this style of recap. I've done some like this before, but I'm not 100% sure. And also let me know what you think of the spreads in the journal, because I think that I can workshop it a little bit and maybe change some things for next month, but I'm really vibing with just having all of my favorite books for the month in one spot. Like, that is so awesome. And even just like, you know, it motivates me to write my reviews because I summarize those reviews into 2 or 3 sentences in the journal, which I'm like, Woohoo, because I'm finally caught up on reviews. Also, let me know what your favorite book that you read in January was. I, despite having a enormous TBR, uh, I always like to just see what's out there. Some of these were recommended by friends, and they're really fun. So, yeah. Don't forget to subscribe if you liked this video and want to see more. And as always, happy planning.